morning.
Hey, Jacob.
How we doing?
How you doing?
Doing good. How are y'all?
We're good. Welcome, everybody. We're at episode 3, the TZE, the Zion Experience. We've got a guest today for the first part. It may stay on, just depends. We just flow, so Jacob may stay on with us for a while. But Jacob McMillan, he is an intern that's been working with us, and he's going to join us full time very soon. So he's got some exciting stories to tell us about his week last week. I think it was last week, 2 weeks ago, maybe.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. And we thought our listeners would enjoy hearing what the Terry College of Business, School of Business down at University of Georgia gets to do. We're a little jealous. Jordan's super jealous.
No question.
I'm semi-jealous, but lean back a little bit, Jacob. I think you've got a shirt on that. Yeah, there it is.
There's a little preview, right?
We didn't plan this either, so there's a preview of what Jacob's going to talk about. He's going to share his week at the Masters. The College of Business goes out and gets to do some really cool stuff. So I'm looking forward to hearing it because I don't know it. I've heard all of it, but so I'm Jimmy Shaw, Jordan Frank. We're your hosts. Jacob McMillan is joining us, and we're going to talk about, I think, what did we say, Jordan? We're going to talk a little bit about AI today and material handling and just see where it goes. And we've had a big couple weeks coming off. Our last episode was ProMat. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We enjoyed taping it. Our partners, High Robotics, that was on, really enjoyed hearing about their journey and what they've got going on, and had a great time at ProMat. Man, it was a good time. Good time to meet people and have relationships, and we just get a lot of energy and coming off of it. Then we've had a big week this week, big last couple of weeks. Had some spring break, and Jordan's going to tell us about his spring break. He took little people to the most magical place on the planet.
That's the name.
I'm interested in hearing about that. And my kids and I went full Robin Williams RV style, and we took the RV and did about 25 counties up in northern Kentucky.
Great movie, by the way. RV, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's when I was trying to convince Summer, and you were my inspiration of taking the kids, not quite as gung-ho as you, but taking the kids out on a little 2-week long RV trip, right? 3-4 stops. And I'm like, we're going to sit down. Let's watch RV. Cause I'm like, there's probably some truth to how our event would go. Yeah. And when he gets to the scene where he's getting the toilet undone, or he's at the sewer there at the drop, and then all of a sudden they got more and more people, and it's a whole event.
Yes.
There would be some, it's in my experience, Chuck had they had the Newmar, the Dutch Star RV and motorhome, and you open that thing up where they've got, it's real. You look at it. If you don't know what you're doing, you can get into some trouble pretty quick. But
absolutely,
it's a good movie. Anyway, sorry. And just one other thing too. You're going to see me coughing and everything else today. Sniffles. I'm not sick. It's just it's that time of the year, spring allergies. So it's about a 3 to 4 week period for me that I'm kind of like this with eyes that look a little crazy and some nasally stuff going on. But anyways, I think what we were going to do is I am very jealous of what Jacob gets to do. It is a wonderful event. It is a wonderful place to be. It is a special place to be. I've been there once. Would love to go again. But Jacob, why don't you tell everybody kind of what you guys get to do?
Yeah, so this is my second year doing it. Last year, I was kind of in a different capacity. I was a headwear rounder is what they called it. And so I kind of stocked headwear in these little rounders around the store. And so I really got to see kind of how the store operated in that aspect, and got to do inventory, and of course got to watch some golf, which is always fun. But this year they kind of gave me more responsibility, which was great. I was an inventory specialist. And so my main, I guess, duty was I handled transfers between stores, because there's.
So Jacob, you might have to back up, paint the picture a little bit. You're at the Masters.
Yeah. So.
Right. Just paint the picture of you're at the Masters, and why are you all in what capacity with the College of Business, the supply chain program? Maybe throw a little shout out to Marty Parker. We'll tag him on this.
Yeah. So
paint a little bit of the picture for the audience of why is a bunch of kids from Georgia at the Masters?
Yeah, so you've probably seen a lot on LinkedIn, with a bunch of posts going out recently of why, UGA students are there. We have connections, our UGA Supply Chain Advisory Board, which Marty Parker is our professor sponsor there. We have connections with people at Augusta National. One of those big names is Matt Dial. He's great, helped us a ton. And so we are able to send students each year. And so we had students in two separate areas this year. We had students in operations, so working in the different golf shops, as well as some students in consulting aspect. And they were working with Marty Parker and others to, go around and figure out where they could improve in different areas of the Masters outside of merchandising.
What are they trying to improve? Are we trying to, I've never been to the Masters. Don't know if I'll ever go, maybe. But are there so many people? Is it selling merchandise, or what are we optimizing?
I know one of the things, I don't know everything that they did, but I know one of them was employee shuttles, because we don't park on property, and so we have to park down the road. And so you have these employee parking lots with thousands and thousands of employees, and you have to shuttle them onto the property. Which they have Mercedes vans, like shuttle vans and buses and stuff like that to get us onto the property. But there's only so many. And especially when you tell everyone they have to clock in by 6:30, no one's going to get there at 5:30 in the morning. So everyone's kind of getting there at the same time. And so it's kind of a bottleneck in some areas. And so I know that's one of the areas that they were going and doing time trials and seeing how they could improve that employee shuttle system to kind of make it as efficient as possible and get people there on time and clocked in on time. So
how many?
And I'll say, Jimmy, Augusta National Golf Club. So there's nothing really around Augusta.
Okay.
Right. It's a pretty. There's not many hotels. There's not many places to stay. There's not a lot of restaurants. It's Augusta National. That's what's there. So the Masters is obviously the event. There's 4 majors. It's one of the 4 majors. It's probably my favorite of the majors, but it is just impeccably maintained, and they limit the number of people that can watch, and they're called patrons. They don't say the audience. They don't say, what they're patrons, right? Yeah. And it is all about the experience, not only for the players, but for the patrons. So what I will tell you is, and because I talked to Jacob a little bit about this earlier this year, but their gift shop, right when you walk in through the main gate. First off, there's no electronics allowed on the course.
Google. I want to see it. I don't know what I've ever looked at it, but I'm
so there's
you're doing it.
There's no electronics allowed on the course. So you have to go through a metal detector to get in. You can have a camera, but you can't have your cell phone.
Okay.
You can't have a smartwatch.
And cameras are only on practice days. Tournament days, there's no electronics at all. So
right. So you feel a little weird because you walk in. I was there on a Sunday, and you walk in and you just feel like you're forgetting something because you don't really go anywhere without your phone, but you can't bring it. And they've got a bank of payphones when you first walk in. So if you need to call somebody, you can, but you can't look up, leaderboards. You can't look up, where do I go? What do I do? There's nothing. So everything there.
To experience everything there.
Yeah, but their gift shop
that's cool.
Is absolutely incredible, and their revenue is $850,000 an hour through the gift shop. And you can't buy Masters apparel anywhere else but at Augusta National. So when they have that amount of people, they don't want you to feel like you're spending your time standing in line trying to buy something, because you want to get out and watch the players play. So I can tell you from when I was there, it's an extremely organized approach where you never feel like it's a crowded event, right? And I think that they want to continue to maintain that, right? So I think, Jacob, a lot of what you guys do is ensuring that, you're always improving. It's a great event, but there's always room for improvement, right?
Yeah, and I talked to some past interns that had worked there, and they were talking a lot to me about every badge has an RFID, even employees, everyone. And so that's kind of how they are able to keep track of who's in the store, what's selling, because we can track customer movement. And so it's really interesting to see, I think most stores, depending on where the entrance is, if an entrance is on the right side, you're going to take a right first, which we've noticed, most people are going to take a hard left going towards your Masters apparel, polos and stuff, or straight back to the hats, because those are the most popular items. And so it's really cool to see that and seeing, hey, what products are moving the fastest. And that's where kind of I came in a little bit was we had people checking products, what products were moving fast. And, if we didn't have the stock we needed, were they in a warehouse somewhere or were they at a different store? And we would transfer those items. And so I helped with those transfers between the different shops, mainly between like Main Golf Shop in South Village, which South Village is down by the South Gate. So they have a big shop at each gate, which is really impressive because you would think the sales would just be so heavy on one, but from what I was seeing, I mean, both shops just dominate in performance, and it's really cool to see because I was explaining at the supply chain event the other day. It's like a well-oiled machine, like most people have been in sales, they've been in some kind of capacity when they were younger, at a grocery store or something along those lines. And you see, oh, hey, this inventory moves kind of fast. I'm having to stock shelves daily, stuff like that. Especially like when I worked at Trader Joe's, I was like, I thought we sold a lot for a grocery store,
Yeah.
And I thought we were moving inventory pretty fast. And then you go to the Masters and it's like things are flying off the shelf. I mean, I remember last year when I was working in hats, I would bring hats out like sleeves at a time, and I couldn't even get them to the shelves before people were taking them out my hand.
Right.
And so
it's a good comparison if you think about some of our 3PL partners that are out there. They go through peak, right? Black Friday, Cyber Monday, 7-10x our volume. Augusta goes from nothing to $50 million of sales in 1 week. Right. And how many volunteers? You have any idea of how many volunteers are at the event?
It's blowing my mind. Like,
I don't know how many. I know there's at least a couple hundred in the golf shop. But the cool thing is, so the golf shop employees, we get paid, while like your gallery guards are volunteers, but the gallery guards get to play the course.
So you got paid to do this?
You got paid?
I got paid. Yeah.
I just
$850,000 an hour. You said, is that?
Yeah.
Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
There's 30. It says there's 35 to 40,000 people here.
Yeah. So
35 to 4-day. Is it 4-day tournament? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Actually, Saturday to Sunday. So Saturday is the women's amateur, which you'll see is when most people come in and buy stuff. It's really weird, because they're not as focused on the tournament or practice days or a lot of sales. Once you hit the tournament days, you didn't see us. I mean, of course, the shop was still filled most times of the day, but it wasn't packed from sunrise to sundown.
What's pretty impressive about it, Jacob, is I was there on Sunday, and I was really concerned that there was going to be like outages of everything that I wanted. There wasn't. Anything that I wanted, they still had in stock. And then, Jimmy, what they do is right next door, at least to the main golf shop. I don't know if they have these at all of them, Jacob. They have a FedEx where you can literally take your all your apparel, your gear, go right next door, ship it to your house.
Where do they keep this stuff? Are there warehouses on site, or how do they?
So the main golf shop has two, I guess, warehouses, you could say. There's a massive area above the shopping, and there's a massive area under the main golf shop. That's kind of where we store product for but of course you can't have 7 days of product in that one building. It's just not feasible. So they have warehouses, off-site, on-site, and then they store stuff at all the different shops, and so they're able to get it done. But my question, what I always wonder is, we sell a lot of stuff, it's a thing that's going to happen, and I always wonder, why don't they order more, but I guess it's the exclusivity of it,
you can only buy it the 7 days of this event.
Correct. If you go on eBay, you'll notice people are reselling stuff for a significant amount, and so you'll notice how actually exclusive it is. So when people go in, you're not having someone come in and buy one hat. You're having people come in and buy, hundreds, thousands of dollars of merchandise.
Let's ask Jordan. When did you and Chuck went? 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, we went in 2017, I think. It was when it was not one of the favorites that won the tournament that year. That was the year that Patrick Reed won. Okay. Yeah, we went on that Sunday. We got there at 7 a.m. as soon as the gates opened. went into the shop and we bought hats.
So I
There
was
was
going
some
to
rain
ask,
that day. She bought a
what we
couple rain
spend?
jackets.
About $4 or $5 grand.
No, it wasn't that much. It was probably like $2 grand. Like I bought a watch from down there, coffee cups, hats. Because to Jacob's point, you buy stuff for everybody. It's like so. Like I bought stuff for Harper, but she was little, right? I bought stuff for my sister's boyfriend at the time, right? I bought stuff because you can't. You just like if you see somebody with a Masters shirt, they either were there or they knew somebody that was there. But you can't just go online and masters.com and buy a shirt. So
That's crazy.
it's and they limit the daily entrance to about 40,000 people. So that's why it's interesting.
Yeah, that's what I
Look
saw.
at
That's crazy.
the waste. When you think about the waste management, right? I think, which is out in Phoenix, I think they were hitting 150, 200,000 people a day. And but that just tells you there's drastically different tournaments, right? The Masters is like respect, it's quiet, it's patrons. Waste management's a party. It's like you got the 16th, it's the skybox and the amphitheater around. But anyway, I think the cool thing about what UGA does with Augusta is it's pretty neat. There's a partnership there, right? And it just goes to show that as great as the Masters is, they recognize that they need to continue to invest in bettering themselves, right?
And material handling. Who would think? I mean, you don't as a consumer when you're we tell that a lot. When you go to the grocery store, you're not sitting. You're going and shopping with a purpose. What food am I going to get? What ingredients do I need? But you think of the cool thing that we get to do every day. I've done it for 25 years. Is the supply chain that gets it to there. And you go to, we're going to talk at spring break, you go to Disney and you think of just the food and the merchandise and everything that goes through that. And that's what engineers do. And that's a cool, so we're partnered with the Terry. Am I saying that right, Jacob? I always call it probably wrong, but
Supply Chain Advisory Board. Yeah.
Yeah. We're part of the Supply Chain Advisory Board at University of Georgia with Marty Parker. Love Marty. Marty's been so good to us. Such good people, the students, everybody, the whole program, just nothing but good things to say about it. And the fact that you go into the Masters, you don't really think, how do you get $850,000 of sales in an hour and push through really what's a 7 days peak? And you just, it's crazy to me. I'd love to see it, but I would love to see the aspect and ask questions. I'm a question asker. I ask a lot of questions. So I would love to ask questions like, what's the system? Where's the inventory? How do you replenish? Because I mean, it's just a big replenishment problem. And it sounds like they run it pretty efficiently. It sounds like there's always room to improve when you're handling those kind of volumes. But
they have
it's fascinating to me. Not put the event aside, like the event itself would be. When Tiger was in his prime, or Jack Nicklaus was in his prime, or even some of the best Sundays that had come down, and just to be able to participate in it. But the nerd of me is like, man, I didn't realize all this exclusivity was there and that they do.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because even those players, as big as they are, the main drive there is called, I think it's Magnolia Lane.
Yeah.
That's the main
picture
entrance
of it here. It's pretty.
It is, but you have to be a member to go down that road. So there was a lot of there was videos this year. A lot of players are taking their first time with the Masters. They'd have their dad with them in the car taking a video going down Magnolia Lane and just that kind of experience. And this year's tournament was phenomenal. It was an interesting tournament. I can sit here and talk all day about it because you had Live Golf, you had the PGA Tour. Both could play the Masters. You had Brooks Koepka, who's Live. He was leading the tournament. You had John Rahm, world #1, right? Awesome player, and just kind of duking it out throughout the tournament. What's that?
I saw Phil. Lefty did well.
Phil did very well. He did. I think he actually
tied for second or something, didn't he?
Yeah. Tied for second or third. Well,
third.
It would have been third. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think he tied the lowest round, or maybe he broke the record for lowest round over the age of 50. Like I said, I could spend the whole podcast talking about Live Golf, PGA, Masters.
Well, we've talked 20 minutes, so let me ask Jacob 2 questions. There was a stat you gave at the Supply Chain Advisory Board social that we had a couple of weeks. What was the stat? Every second or something?
Yeah, there's a hat sold every 0.8 seconds, which is pretty.
One hat sold every 0.8 seconds. So that's wow. And then 2, coolest experience, best part of participate. This is year 2, right?
Yeah, year 2.
Yeah. So what would you say? Just looking
I
back.
guess
Yeah.
I'll do one of each. One working it, and then one experience it, kind of going out there, because you get to watch golf as well. Working it is cool to be able to see the transfer. They have a homegrown transfer app, so how they transfer inventory between the different stores. So it's really cool to see how that worked and kind of work in it as well. So that was a really cool experience, kind of learning new software. And then as a kind of going out there and watching a little bit on 18 when Rom and them are coming up. If you go back and watch, there's a shadow on the tee box, and then you randomly see the shadow drop. That was me and some others, because John Rahm turned around at us and goes, "Hey, can y'all bend down?" Because we were so tall that our shadow was covering the tee box.
I absolutely remember that scene. I didn't have to go back and look at it. I know because the commentators notated it. They were like, because you could see in the background the sun coming in, and I didn't understand, but they were like, I thought he was asking you guys to, like, block the sun, but it was just that your shadow was extending out into the tee
Yeah,
box.
and so he turned around.
That was
and
you, huh?
to bend down.
Wow.
So that was probably my favorite experience. That was a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what we need to do is, this is my last comment on it. I've researched how can you play Augusta National, because you really can't. But I will tell you that if you write a book about the Masters, that people have had success of getting in and playing for research. So I think it sounds like we need to write a book about
Material
the hidden
handling.
experience behind the scenes of the Masters.
Yeah.
Right. So Jacob, that's next year's project. We're doing a behind the
Awesome.
scenes book. We're going to go out and play to research it.
Awesome. Well, I'll leave with one thing. What do y'all think is the most favorite product of people at the Masters? What do patrons love to get?
Pimento cheese sandwich.
No, the gnomes right here.
That's what I saw. A girl I work with at UPS, used to work with at UPS a long time ago. She said her husband got another gnome, like they need another gnome. But those go get one of those. Go get one of those real quick, Jacob.
While he's doing that, Jimmy, the pimento cheese sandwiches
I've heard about them.
$1.50.
See, I've got so many hobbies in my life. I don't need another. I don't need to add like Masters and cool golf courses.
I what is it? April 21st, 2023. I'd be surprised if we don't have some gnomes back behind you come this time next year.
Hey,
I think that's a good project.
I've added. Have you seen? I've been telling.
I see it.
But Jacob, I hadn't even told you about this. I've been looking at Air Jordan 1s for solid 3 years. Just never pulled the trigger. Bought 3 pairs last week. Tried. I got a low, I got a mid, and a high. That's how I do it. Jordan tells me sometimes, like, I don't do anything halfway, but when I do it, I've got them. So I've got my green pair of Zions, Air Force 1s. Those are the originals. They're the high tops.
Those look good.
Yeah, they're pretty clean.
We'll see if we ever see him on his feet. We'll see. I asked him. I said, "Are we getting rid of the cowboy boots? Are we gonna wear some sneakers?" And he said, "Special occasions." So
maybe
we'll see.
Special events.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We've got a customer that we're talking to and working with that's actually a member at the Masters. He's part of the supply chain board as well.
I know.
And sounds like I need to go. So you only went one day, Jordan? We'll wrap this up. But you can.
So
how hard is it to get tickets in general? I mean, is it super tough?
Very. So what they do is the tickets are cheap if you have the tickets. So there's certain families, like all the patrons, it's all sold out. There's no general sale of the Masters tickets. There's a lottery that you can enter. And that lottery, you can get practice round, you can get tournament rounds, but you only get one day, right? So all the week-long passes are already sold. And then all these guys have to do, I think it's like a $400 renewal fee. And that's all that it costs for a week-long badge. So you can keep that in your family as long as you want, and they have rules of allowing you to will that down. So literally it's generational of the patron badges that people like. When I was down there, I went to a restaurant and I was sitting next to somebody. It was like their 28th Masters. And it's because it's if you're on that list, you can be on it forever. So they haven't opened it up for a general sale in 25 plus years or 20 years or something. So it's you either have to get it through the lottery or you got to pay for a ticket through a third party.
Or there's one more way. It's Berkman's Place, which is by invitation only. So a member or someone like that could invite you to Berkman's to buy a ticket in Berkman's Place. Which Berkman's
A member
Place
of
tickets
Augusta can invite you, you're
$6.
saying?
Yeah, they're $6,000 a badge to Berkman's Place, but you have to be invited to be able to purchase one. So
Jimmy, to answer your question, it's not easy.
What's the ticket cost?
normally only like 50 to 120. But
Like if you win the
retail
lottery,
is like over 1,000. But like if
Yeah.
you get a retail 50 to 120 depending on the day.
Yeah,
Berkman's at
it's
6,000 retail.
it's crazy.
I know of a dude that paid $50,000 for one
So
resale.
Jacob got to go for free twice.
Right.
And
Right.
he got paid to do it.
And
Right.
got put in a hotel.
That seems fair.
Right. Right.
And you got what? What was his
Put in a
last?
hotel for the week.
And you got put in a hotel. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But
We lost a week of productivity out of Jacob at work because of this. Well, I'm glad
It's worth
for him, man.
going.
That's life's about experiences. Part of our vision statement's memorable experiences. This sounds like the Masters is a pretty memorable experience and how they do everything and the exclusivity of it. And the nerd in me really likes the fact that's a lot of volume. That's a lot of moving parts. That's a pretty cool peak week. And maybe we'll have to figure out a way, Marty Parker, if we can get Marty to listen to this, they might need some systems integration help next Masters to come look at and make sure the system's working right and what additional technologies could help the Masters in this 7 weeks.
That's right.
I
Jacob,
know they have a new warehouse.
Can you tag Marty so we can see if we would be glad to do it? We'll give a very reasonable price on it. We may even do it just out of the goodness of our hearts.
You can afford it, Jimmy. The stat is 70 million in sales, 10 million a day, $1 million an hour, 16,000 a minute, $277 every second. That's what they do. So I think they need some conveyor. It'd be good. Help them out. There'd be an ROI there somewhere.
Yeah, I think what Jacob will add that to our task list. Let's see if we can do it. I like the gnome. Did you get two? Is that one from each year? Is what you got?
That one's from last year. This one's from this year. So.
And that's pretty cool. That's nice. Well, I've enjoyed that. We spent 30 minutes talking about the Masters. So if you're still with us, everybody, hopefully you enjoyed that. And but that's a cool experience, man. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, thanks.
You can stay on. We're going to probably just roll in, or if you want to stay on, stay on. If you want to bounce off, that's cool. Huh? Yeah, cool. So well, let's switch. We've talked. So we usually intro with a little what have we done lately, and we've come off spring break, but I think 30 minutes is probably sufficient, Jordan, if we want to pivot into maybe what we've done this week. Yep. I've had a big week.
Yeah, go ahead.
So 2 weeks ago I was on, we came off ProMat and then we had spring break. You had spring break and I dug out of emails from ProMat and then I had spring break. I took the kids up. We're trying to see every county in Kentucky. There's 120 of them. We did 25 counties in about 4 days in our RV up in the northeast side, the very northeast area of Kentucky.
I've seen your pictures of the courthouse. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, that's what we do.
The courthouse.
Yeah, my daughter. So my daughter Abby, one of my daughters, I should say, is 11, and she's doing it. If we get it done in time, she's going to enter it as part of the 4-H contest for a project for the state fair. But my wife got the idea that let's go see every Kentucky county. So we go pick 2 to 3 places, 2 to 3 interesting items to see in the county. It might be a museum, it might be a location, it might be a house, and then we always go to the courthouse and take a picture with the kids in front of the courthouse. We've done about 45 to 60 counties right now, so we're about halfway done. And then my daughter writes a blog about the counties that we've been to, and she writes a little, here's what we found, here's some interesting facts. But so we did that. We did 4 days of it. And then this week had a big week when I've been out on the West Coast most of the week. We had a customer visit to to see a working high robotics site, which is really a second or third time I've seen it, but just always a good day to take a customer. We're going to have some exciting news about this customer shortly, very shortly, but had that good trip. And then we went to another company, can't, just because of the industry we're in, can't really name the name yet, but spent some time with some of the smartest people in the world, literally technology wise, AI wise, material handling wise, some of the smartest people in the world, and had that. And then yesterday we were all together up in, where were we? We all got together and talked. We call it our ZBR, which is our Zion Business Review. So we meet quarterly, every 3 months, and just talk about strategically where we're going. And it's always fun. We get in, I said, it's like a group of brothers and sisters. We get in and we argue just a little bit, and but we have some really good discussions. It's always good to be in the room with each other. And so I've had a big week, and love getting out with our customers. We've got an install going in Texas right now, and it's going super well. And I love that. That's everything in life's your passion, right? I would much rather be out on the floor watching one of our installs that we've designed, and we're installing it and getting to commission it. And that's just where I love to be. I love to be out with our customers. So had a busy week. What about you, Jordan? You had a busy week.
Yeah. I mean, we, this week I was asked to participate in a Kaizen event. It was actually helping a fellow competitor with one of their customers. They just asked me to come in, and they had a Kaizen event focused on improving. They put in a batch and sort system. So they've got pick to light, they got put to light, and the system was working. They realized some improvements, but they weren't quite all the way there. They think they could squeeze out some more efficiencies. So we spent a couple days on site. Pretty cool experience of going through and understanding how the process works today, because they have a fairly complex process where they have a WMS, they've got a batching software, they've got a pick to light and put to light software, and then they've got a conveyor control system. So they've got 4 elements.
4 text
Yeah.
fast. Wow.
Yeah. So normally you'd have your WMS to your batch and sort.
Right.
You normally have your WMS drop your orders, have somebody do that batching if it's not the WMS, and they would control the cubby allocation in the put pods downstream. But this particular site, they got 4 different tech stacks in there.
Wow.
And they had it set up where there were some people that were walking. They have very large orders, so they're actually putting products into coolers, and they have orders ranging from a single all the way up to their larger coolers are, I think it was 41 units go into their larger coolers. So what was happening is they were loading these cubbies, but they were spending so much time on the backside taking the units out and then building a cooler, putting them into the cooler, that they couldn't get the volume out they wanted to, because they ship everything in 3 days, because they don't ship on Thursday and Friday, because this is refrigerated product and it spoils after 48 hours.
It's got
So
excursion
they don't want it to be
limits.
delivered on the weekend. So they have to do all of their volume Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we spent 2 days really understanding the current process, understanding how we could improve it from both a software and flow standpoint, but also from a physical standpoint. So what we ended up doing is we split into 2 teams, and we had a team that was focused on looking at their existing site and how could we reuse what they have, repurpose what they have, but expand on it, and then drive some additional efficiencies. And then how could we improve the pack? So we literally spent 2 days, and we would have ideas, and we would build it on site. So we had the maintenance team ever with us. We had ourselves, and we would mock things up full scale. We would run time studies through it. We brought in this customer's really neat. They would bring in their entire shift, everyone that's involved in it, to come over and say, guys, they would call it a tri-storm. Here's tri-storm number 1. Here's what we're thinking. And they get feedback right there on the spot from their team. And then we take that feedback and we'd iterate and improve upon it, bring them back out, and then say, all right, what do we think about this? And then we did some actual time studies. And what we ended up doing was picking directly into the cooler, or not picking, we would put directly into the cooler. And we developed some custom put walls where we were going to singulate the products coming into those put walls, and we completely eliminated that pull process. So that pull process would take
Took a touch out.
Yeah, I mean, once you have the backside of the wall, it would take them 10 minutes to go through, pull the products out, put them into the coolers, and get those to pack. That's how long that's how long it would take. That was for a batch of 14 orders. So it would take 10 minutes. We got it down to, I think, 42 seconds with the process that we had.
10 minutes to 42 seconds.
Yeah. So we ended up
You
having
said something
dockable.
important. I think that our listeners may hear is like what we do is very complicated. Obviously, we've done it a long time. But trying to keep something simple, Jordan. I mean, at the end of the day, I've always, when I was teaching new engineers, you look where people's feet are moving and count the touches.
Yep.
If you do those two things from an efficiency standpoint, that's really your travel time and your touches. And then the third item is really just the thinking time, the processing time. What decisions are you making? You want that to be super simple. But if you want the cheat sheet for how do you walk into a warehouse and what's the three things that you have to look at, it's look where people's feet are moving at a workstation. So just envision it. Every time they're moving, it's wasted effort. That's opportunity to eliminate waste. And then count touches. We did that at one of our customers we did a consulting study for, and they were touching product 15, 16, 17 times.
Right.
Every touch is an opportunity to reduce. And then the last one's where are people making decisions? So I've always said it's kind of a cheat sheet for me is in 25 years, what have I learned? Those three things. I can walk into any warehouse in anywhere. And those are the three of the items that I'm looking for. Where are people moving? How many touches? Count them. And then where are people making decisions? And then that's your opportunity to start improvement. Sounds like you all
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really the design they had in place wasn't a bad design and it was requiring just more complexity than we really needed.
Did you lose him there for a minute, Jacob?
Yeah, I lost him for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, your internet's dropping out or something.
Yeah. No, can you hear me?
I got you. Yeah.
I think what it is when I get a email, it's playing. That's why I took my headphones off. It's got that alert. I think it cuts me out. So I got to figure that out. Actually, let me just close out Outlook. There we go. Yeah. So, anyways, it was a really cool experience. They really, it was, you know, we would solve one problem, but then that wouldn't, like, as an example, we had mobile carts that we had these coolers that we built, you know, put them in these mobile carts, had them slanted towards the putter. They would take this, all be light driven, and they'd put it into these coolers, but these coolers get to be 30, 40, 50 pounds when they're fully loaded. So then the next,
when you say a cooler, do they got like a specialized a shipping container?
It's a corrugated box with a styrofoam cooler inside, and then they have to put gel packs on the bottom.
Yep.
It's got a liner in it. They got to put the products in, more gel packs, dunnage. It's a pretty involved process, but so with these gel packs and these products that they have, it'd get up to 40 or 50 pounds. So then the next solve was, okay, well, we got these things on a cart, but how do we get these coolers off of the cart without having our employees having to bend down, pick them up, or go to the top level and bring them down? So employee safety, ergonomics was very important to this customer, which it should be. So we ended up developing was we could take the cart over to a conveyor, and you could actually push, I gotta sneeze here in a second, but you could actually push the cooler out on the bottom shelf onto a powered takeaway. So you just push it up, and then you would slide the cart over one spot. We'd have 8 coolers on a cart. So you'd push it up onto the conveyor, push it over one, push the next one up. For the top, we developed a similar to a herringbone transfer that you'd get off of a flex loader. It's basically a ramp. It's a chute that's hinged. So that bottom box could come in, knock it up, and keep going to the packer. But for the top, you'd slide it off the top shelf and come down that transfer onto your powered takeaway. So that process of taking the cart, pushing it over to the takeaway conveyor and unloading it, and then bringing it back over would take them 45. That's what took 45 seconds, which previously took 10 minutes. So, and we were able to do it, you know, it's a brownfield operation. So I had to think about phasing it in, you know, and minimizing the capital expense. But it was good. Sometimes, you know, you just got to simplify things, to your point. Get decision-making out of people's mind, right? Today, they had colored totes, and you had to figure out which colored tote you needed. Then you had to bring it over on a ball transfer table and put it. And then you had to look to see if you had any more totes in your batch. And I said, guys, we got to eliminate that. We need to have a person who has a tote that shows up and they have a process they follow. They shouldn't have to think about whether or not to scan that tote or scan those items. So we solved that, right? To your point, touches. So yeah, it's great that we were putting 41 units into a cubby and we were getting a great pick efficiency, but you were adding that right back in with having somebody else pull those 41 units out. So you think about that. You're picking 41, you're putting 41, you're pulling 41, you're packing 41.
Yes.
So that's just a lot of touches and labor. So it's like, okay, eliminate that. And look, it's not an easy challenge to solve picking directly into an order container where you have variable sizes, but you can still put measures in place where it might take us a little bit of time to come to a solution, but the end goal of where we got to is it's still a simplified solution for the person that's building those cards. So we would actually allocate a batch ahead of time, and we're going to have a LCD screen or LED screen that's going to have a grid, and you're going to scan the cart, and it's going to come up. And it's going to tell you large cooler, medium cooler, small, large, medium, whatever. But it's going to tell your cart builder exactly what to build and where to put it. And then it's going to tell them which pod to take that over to. So once again, decision making's out of it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it was a pretty cool event. And then we spent some time just
you think about how many companies, Jordan, do, because we've done a lot of put pods. We've done a lot of cubbies.
Yep.
And it is at your most efficient pick is always into the shippable container. It's just anytime you put it on paper. But there are times and places where it doesn't make sense to put it straight to it because you got quality. Quality comes into play a lot on it, right? You got value add services that comes into play on it. But in this case, I mean, it sounds like a pretty cool event. Did they have somebody internally that ran it? You hear Kaizen, you hear these gimbal walks, you hear the Six Sigma type language, lean.
Some funny sounding words for all these things, but I'll tell you, it was very effective. Yeah, they had a champion internally. There was a team there of about there was probably 8 or 10 internal team members on this team, and then there was myself, one other individual on the first day, and then 2 other on the second day. So there was 2 or 3 external, and they had a blend of site director of logistics, and they'd have leads, right, that are on the floor that were part of this event. But they would have an internal guy that was championing this. So you had your project charter, in scope, out of scope, your owners and everything else. And it was very organized. And I've just never been a part of an event where, we live in AutoCAD all day long, right? And that's what we do. And we usually don't have the luxury to take the time and build out what we're thinking. But here we did. I mean, we had guys out there with grinders and band saws and, literally just
on site,
fabricating this thing as we go. They take it, our ideas, turn it into reality. You set it up and sit there and actually do what's my productivity gains. So it was pretty cool. I applaud them for doing it. I think I think it's really cool, the culture because you could tell that their employee culture was a focus. I mean, bringing those, telling their whole first shift, stop what you're doing, all come over here, and then challenge them with feedback and questions and do the process. And that's what drove a lot of our recommendations.
Yeah.
Because the people on the floor are the most important people in the process because they know what works and they know what doesn't. Now, we can help them understand to open their minds a little bit, but their feedback's invaluable. And I think that's missed at times, not getting the right feedback, and you think you've got solved, but if you don't listen, right, which is one of our core values, is you got to listen and you got to understand, and you can take that and you may think you've got a better solve until they say, oh, well, we've tried to do this and this is what happened. Right. So just critical.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been part of several of these events. My time at UPS was a lot spent. How do you improve?
Yeah.
How do you tweak? How do you get more efficiency? And those 3 things, those 3 cheats that I gave you, I mean, that's over 25 years plus of it always will ring true. You can go in any warehouse and do it. But what you just said is also critical as well. The most valuable feedback. There's multiple ways to solve different problems, which is what we do. We look for, where's your pain? What problems can we help you solve? but there's multiple ways to solve it, but always get the buy-in of the leadership team or the directional management team. But the employees on the floor, they're invaluable. And engineers miss that. Young engineers, inexperienced engineers miss that sometimes, because you can design the best spreadsheet, you can have the best process, but if you don't get the buy-in, if you don't get the real world feedback, and I learned that. We joke about being concrete walkers. I learned that very quickly in my career at UPS, of going out and I would do the job. I would encourage you to do that as well. If you're a young engineer. Systems integration, we don't get to do that as much because we're building the systems to handle a product, but go out and put away, go out and receive. You want to really redesign something? Yeah, Jacob, as you're learning in this, like, you really want to understand how a warehouse works, go get an RF gun and stay in inbound for a week, go to outbound for a week, go to shipping for a week, put away. I mean, you've got to get that feedback. That's cool. You also got some new note-taking skills. Jordan's not a big note taker.
That's right.
We're in our meeting yesterday, and this is 5 bullet points. He's got his computer up taking notes, and I'm like, so Jordan and I've worked together long. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? What's going on over here? And he's taking notes, took some action items and
due dates, right?
Got an owner, got a due date. Yeah,
that's right. I will say what was pretty neat is about 5 or 6 years ago, we really started getting our feet wet with robotics. And we really started with AMRs, autonomous mobile robots, specifically the Mir product line.
Yeah.
So there was a product called the Mir 500 still around, and the Mir 1000, and their pallet movement AMRs. And we would take these AMRs down to customer facilities, and we would do a trial run, map it out, run it, see what kind of cycle times you could get with pallet movements. And one of the big conversation points was around the culture and employees and what they're going to think of these robots coming in. And when we first started, I think people looked at it, they challenged it, they questioned it, they were concerned, right? Because people think robots, and still they think, it's going to displace labor, which at times is true. But for the most part, it's there to supplement, right? On the non-value added tasks. And we, with this event, where I'm getting to is, it was one of the first times, and I think we're going to start to see this more often, where their employees were trying to come up with ideas of where we could leverage robotics to help supplement what they're doing. So I'm starting to see a shift internally in these distribution centers where people don't see robotics so much as a threat anymore. I think it actually creates some attraction and excitement of being able to work with those robotics, seeing them in action. And then, when you go home with your family and you're talking about your day at work, you're going to say, yeah, I interact with robots. I think that's pretty cool, right? And I think there's been a shift, and let people understand them a little bit better and know that they're not there robots are not humans. There's some AI, there's some humanoids that are out there, and they're getting, they're doing what they can, but it's still, when it comes down, you mentioned decision-making earlier, right? Well, the decision-making is where there's a challenge with robotics today, right? As an example, if I am expecting a product orientation in a certain way and it comes in backwards, well, a human can very easily fix that, right? But if a robot's trained to see it a certain way and it's not there, there's only so much they can do, right? So my point is, robots are there to supplement labor, to assist in labor, to allow people to stop having to walk so much, lift things so heavy, and make their positions, not eliminate them, but make them more efficient in their process, right? And it's pretty cool to start to see pickers, putters, packers like, man, can you guys help us with where could we leverage some robotics to improve our processes? So it's a little another interesting thing.
I don't know if you've seen him. He was at FedEx for a while. I think he's retired. He is a voice in the material handling community about robotics and automation. I don't know Aaron personally, but I follow him. I see his stuff, and he calls it the 3Ds, and I think we used it as part of a LinkedIn post this week. But anywhere it's dirty, dull, or dangerous work is where robotics can supplement and help. And you think about that. I mean, it's who wants to be in the back? I don't know if either one of you all have been in the back of a 53-foot container truck unloading, 1,000 boxes, 1,500 boxes. And when you get done with one truck, there's a second truck
Or the
waiting on you.
next, right?
And it's hot, and it's just, there's a place for it, but the adaption rate is coming. It's getting better. And I think we've all got to be, I've said it several times. I give some speeches to the high school kids. And then as we're talking to a couple different humanoid companies, because that's coming at us. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of who solves the problem first. And there's always the question of how do we remain morally and ethically in line as we develop this new technologies. Sure. Part of what we said we talk about, and I'm not an expert. I don't even know how deep I can't go deep in it. I'll just say that I can't go deep, but the AI that is just taking the world by storm in the last couple of months. Chat GPT, the AI, there's open AI, and there's even a petition out there. I think Musk is involved with it, of telling everybody to pause for 6 months.
Not only Musk just created. I think he's now getting into the AI game.
Yes.
I think he was holding off for a while, and Microsoft was out there, and they were making some headway. I think there was an article that came out that he's standing up a company for artificial intelligence, and he's going to have quite a head start with his Tesla. That's what it is. I mean, it's AI, right?
Well, but you said it right. A conversation I've had recently was, you think about, let's talk about a humanoid. A humanoid goes up. So Jacob, if you walk up and you walk up to a table and you see another person knock a Coke over or knock a cup over and it spills, you know what to do. You have the cognitive ability to say, well, either you're going to help that person out, you're going to pick it up, to clean it. It might be dripping off. You can stop it. You can pick the cup up. You have a reaction of, you've got the cognitive ability to make very ladder logic decisions, but that just naturally comes to you. So now think about a robot. I shouldn't say robotic. A robot has to be programmed to understand every possible scenario of what do they do. And so there's a hardware aspect, but then there's the software that comes in and the artificial intelligence, and I shouldn't say that. They're a long way away from having the cognitive ability that a simple human being has. I think one of the companies we're talking to said that it's 20 plus year old technology hardware wise, but the cognitive ability, at least today, who knows what this AI and artificial intelligence is going to do. I think it's going to exponentially grow once it takes off. And but they have the cognitive ability of a 6-month-old to a 1-year-old is how they described it. And
I think
another cool thing, Jordan. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Another cool thing I saw is you don't think about this, but when we're carrying something, like if we're carrying a box, we have the vision system to understand, and just I'm lacking the word, the peripheral, the awareness, the cognitive awareness of what's underneath you and you're walking. But when you think think of a robot, a humanoid carrying a box, well, now you have to have a camera that can see the field of vision.
Sure.
And you might have to have a camera somewhere underneath the box or somewhere different or somewhere, like just basic stuff of how does it see where its feet are going. And then when we were out west, I saw I haven't seen a lot of these autonomous driving cars, but Waymo, I think it's Waymo one, and there's a Cruise. I'm driving into San Francisco or riding into San Francisco, and I look over and I see this. It's a Waymo car, and it's got all the scanners and the LiDAR, and it's just it's crazy. It's coming. I'm rambling there a little, Jordan. Sorry.
No, it is. I mean, it's pretty impressive. I mean, artificial intelligence, machine learning, it's going to continue to adapt, and it's going to adapt quickly, right? I mean, the thing with technology is it continues to grow upon itself at an exponential rate, right? And it's really, really cool stuff. It takes some really smart people. I read a book that was talking about making your own neural network. A neural network is what drives artificial intelligence, machine learning, using the Python coding language. But it's an interesting. It's there. It's going to be here. I think the next step, the next challenge is speed, right? Of being able to do this as fast as a human, and then also cost, right? Because starting off, it's just like when TVs, like when LCDs, plasma screens first came out, they were crazy expensive, right? Because they had a burden of all that R&D cost that was put in it, trying to turn a profit. You're going to see the same here for a little bit with some of these AI, these humanoids, whatever else. But there is going to be a point where they come and they're going to make them much more attractive. They're going to be capable of doing more. And the more that
Right.
they sell, the more data they can collect, the more improvements they can make. And, it's I think it's something that we'll see certainly in our lifetime within distribution centers. And I think the whole point to all of this is what we do here at Zion is we're always looking out to understand, we've got some awesome partners today with some awesome technologies. And we spend a lot of time and money to understand how those systems work, um, where they make sense, how to size, how to design. And we take on that burden to be a better partner to not only our business partners, but our customers, right? But we also want to do, and part of what we strive to do is understand what's forward looking, what technology is coming. It may not be ready yet, but we found success in getting in early, understanding what it is. But what's even cooler, Jim, that you haven't mentioned is that we're having conversations with some of these companies where they're leveraging our expert opinions and our
Yes.
thoughts. And it's a really humbling experience because these people are just unbelievably intelligent, but they're coming to us and being like, guys, we need your help. We need your feedback. We can't do this without you. So
Right.
that's just what we want to do, right? We want to help our customers, but we also want to help our business partners, whether they have a marketable, sellable product or not. It's just about
Yes.
helping each other become the best that we can.
That's right. The I was reading an article. I've got it here because I can't remember it, but we solve problems, and so one of our potential partners or partners is Covariant, and it's really who's using AI today. So there's all the buzz about Chat GPT. It's coming. It's absolutely coming. Where's it going to end up? I don't know that answer, but it's coming. But who's using it today? So Covariant is one that's using artificial intelligence, and the brain of their pick and place robot is just super impressive. Very, very impressive. Good people over there as well. But Peter Chin, I believe, is their CEO and co-founder, and he said he said there haven't been many core mechanical advances in the last few decades. So automation of the types of tasks that require human hands, like picking and packing, they've reached the limits of the available technology. So that makes sense. You think about that. And it said whatever problems can be solved with operations plus hardware plus software, they're currently already solved. But he added that's where this artificial intelligence comes in. They're going to fill in the blanks between those problems that are already solved. So I'll say it again because I think it's pretty powerful. It's operations where there's hardware and software and operations, which is really what we do. That's a system. You got
Right.
your human, your hardware, and then you've got the software. Those problems, they've been solved multiple different ways, but a lot of the problems have already been solved to what technology can do today. It's always advancing, always will. But then where does AI come in? It's going to fill those blanks where those problems are. And it really, does AI someday come in and do what you all looked at, Jordan, and say, hey, I've got a human pudding. I've got software, 4 technology stacks behind the scenes doing something. And then it's ultimately going in to a metal bin or cubby that's got to go onto a metal conveyor. Does it solve that? I don't think it does that, but could you optimize and where? And
Well, I hear you.
I don't
say-
know,
I
man.
think it's it's a good question, and I think what you're getting to, and we're gonna wrap this up here. Maybe this will be a segment for our next episode, but
Yep.
what you're getting to is a combination of software, but also what people are calling digital twins, right?
Yes.
And what a digital twin is allowing, the intent of a digital twin is to create a replication of your existing facility and then be able to manipulate different inputs and variables to understand how it's going to affect your operation. So you can do all of that with what you have in place without really touching any part of your operation. So to answer your question, yes, I do think that AI can play an important role into simulating different environments and scenarios. Now, whether, how long it's going to take before that AI can come up and say, here's the recommended solution that I want to try, I think that's where it's going to take a little bit of time. But I think if you feed it, it's going to be able to take it and then maybe better itself upon that. But, that initial thought of what do we want to try, I think that'll take some time for AI to solve. But yeah, I think it's a great topic that I think we could spend some time talking about. It's just, we started, when I was talking about my day this week, we mentioned technology stacks, 4 different technology stacks. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? How do we make that better? How do you make it worse? Whatever it is. But I think we could spend some time talking specifically around software that you see today and software that you can expect tomorrow. Right. And that could be, we can blend that in with our next episode here. But I think
we've talked about bringing one of our partners on. Maybe Austin could join us for that. Yeah, we just talk about what do you got there, Jacob? What you hear all this now?
So I think the thing with the AI thing is what I've noticed a lot, especially with like ChatGPT, because I've used it with classmates to kind of get outlines of stuff. It's a great way to get information fast, so you don't have to go read 10 articles about a company or something along those lines. It can kind of data dump for you. But what I've noticed is it's all about the user using it. If you don't know how to use the AI, you're not going to get the information you really need. It's going to be very surface level information. So even let's say AI is to the point where it can come up with this solution in 2 years. It's all about you're going to have someone that knows how to use the AI, knows how to get that solution out of it. Because if a normal person comes in and goes, hey, this is the problem, find the solution, they're probably not writing all the different factors that are in it, all the different other scenarios that might happen. But if you have someone that knows how to use the software or how to use the AI, I think it can be more beneficial. So even if AI becomes a factor in these recommendations, I think you're still going to have someone that knows how to do the recommendation themselves. Yes. I think it's just a kind of something that's going to reassure someone.
I don't think you ever lose that. I think the expertise and knowing. One of my favorite stories is there's an old man that comes in and the boat's not working. The company can't get the boat working. You all probably heard this. I'm going to butcher it, but I'm going to get close. They come in and the guy comes in. He listens to the engine won't start. A multi-million-dollar boat, right? Everybody's tried to fix it. Nobody can fix it. So he comes in. He's got his toolbox. He pulls out a hammer. He kind of sticks his ear. He hears. He walks up to one spot on the boat. He dings it with his hammer. He's here 5 minutes. He's at the site 5 minutes. Boat fires up. Everything's working. He sends the bill over, and I'm going to just make it, a big number. He gives them a $100,000 bill for five minutes, and they're like, "Well, hold on a second. You were only here 5 minutes. I'm going to need what did you do? What's the invoice?" So he writes the invoice out, and he puts the labor for hitting. The labor for doing it's like $5, and then the balance is the line item is knowing where to hit it. And I think you're always going to have that. And that's one thing we pride ourselves on is knowing the right question to ask. You can have all the technology in the world. There's a lot of companies that have really, really strong software, and they aren't successful or operations aren't successful using it. I don't see AI being any different. If you don't know how to apply it, having information doesn't get you to an outcome. And that's one of my favorite stories of the old man that knows, it's not what you do. It's sometimes how you do it. And I think we do that a lot. That's why these companies and these partners that are they're 2 to 3 years from market potentially of having some of the most advanced technology that we will see, and I've seen in my lifetime. But they want to ask questions of us and of Zion and of ours of like, information's great, but you've got to know how to apply it. So I think it's a great point, Jacob, is you can get all the information in the world, but you don't know the right question to ask. And that's what we do a lot. We ask questions and we listen. And I think that's an extremely valuable and important service that we provide our customers of knowing the right questions to ask and then providing the right answers and help them with solving their problems. we've went an hour and 5 minutes. Nobody's probably here with us at this point, but we're going to have our followers. We've got our base has grown. We've doubled in views, and so really enjoying it. But we probably need to wrap up. Any final thoughts, Jacob? Appreciate you joining us. Yeah.
No, I think my final thoughts here is just we hit on it. It's kind of a theme, and we've talked about this before. Is that we don't really script these things out. We really have a couple talking points or topics that we want to hit on, and then we just kind of let it flow. And we feel like that's how we, that's just how we work, I guess is the best way to put it. But I think the theme that I've gotten from this conversation is questions and listening. Is in anything. It doesn't matter if you're solving a problem, if you're talking with your family, if you're, trying to get master's tickets, right? Questions and answers is the way you succeed. And it's not just any question, and it's not just listening. It's active listening, and it's asking the right questions, and knowing how to ask those questions and when to ask those questions based on the information you get, I think relates back. I think we do a nice job of it. It was what we focus on. So that's a theme.
You open your email back up because you just cut out.
I did. I got something that came in. We'll fix that for the next episode.
Well, I agree with you. Listening, it's a core value. It's a foundational value that we have, and I've enjoyed it. Jacob, thanks for joining us. Jordan,
thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. We'll catch you next time. Episode 4. Peace, everybody.
Sounds good. See you guys.